Okay, fine. We do it that way. Oh, figured the connection's getting touchy enough. We're going to jump on here now. All right. So we have had episode 10 and the final episode of Star Trek Picard, not just the season, but apparently the entire thing. And yeah, they stuck the landing. They definitely stuck it. And again, anybody at this point who's just, oh, they did that Spencer. They stole that. Okay. Look, but to those who say it is nothing but fan service, you're damn right it's fan service, and we damn well earned it. With all the crap we put up with for the past several years from Discovery and the first two seasons of Picard and JJ Trek in general, and then frankly the crap that is pretty much Strange New Worlds is slightly less crappy. That's a case of oh, they're only beating me once a week instead of every day. That's where you go for that kind of thing. Where it's like, okay, they've kind of got the general idea of how to do Star Trek. But they still ain't quite got it. It's more geared to the TikTok zero attention span generation. They're still, making a point of making Spock look like a moron. And the dialogue is like, please, no. I ain't going over there, okay? I've seen too much as it is. But Picard is like, they finally, no. This is the no, it's still tied to the Discovery thing universe. But this is as close as we're going to get under that thing. It's a demonstration. This is how you do it. This is how you show proper respect to established canon and to these characters and to the universe in general. This is how you do a Star Trek show. Previous ones, I think a lot of it's like, what Doug Drexler said, that when Matt Jeffries was doing his time, he had called it the aircraft sensibility. As he designed something, he designed it so it looks like it might actually work. Whereas a typical sci-fi show, it just has to look cool. That's the difference between, let's see, if I can get this out of here. Too many wires on the way. Between this is a Starship design and the JJ Prize, which doesn't work on everything. Where the nacelles are connected to the hull and where the struts are connected to the hull and everything, that doesn't work. The physical models, like from Ravel, have very big problems trying to maintain. They can't maintain those lines in an actual real world environment. It's just not physically really possible. It only works in CGI, and it's a sci-fi design. If anything, if any design looks like it came out of the 60s, it's JJ Prize. This thing, frankly, looks like it came out of the 40s. Okay, that kind of battleship mentality. This is the kind of thing that looks like NASA would build, given the technologies that with artificial gravity. But the swooping lines and the thing, that's a 60s looking crap fest right there. So the whole thing, I want to make like a hot rod. It's a military vessel. You don't make like hot rods, you moron. But this is what they actually you brought again. They basically canonized a lot of Star Trek Online ships designs, including the Enterprise F, the Odyssey class, and various other ones. The Shangri-La was an old fan design. They actually hired the guy who designed it, Bill Krause, and actually the design itself, it's a 23rd century design. That was the original USS Titan. In the backstory for this whole thing, Savick was the captain, and then the second Titan was the one, the Luna class that Riker commanded. We're not sure what happened to it, but a lot of it, something happened to it, and a lot of it got recycled the Titan A was classified as a refit, but it was less of a refit than the. That's why I like having visual aids within reach. It was less of a refit than this jewel is of the original ship. It's like very, very little. And the fact that, they completely changed, it's like basic hull structures and some of the engineering. The rest of it's like total rebuild. That's why it's not even a Luna class anymore. It's a Neo Constitution like 3 class, which is dumb, but go with it. Dumber things have happened in real life. But yeah, this is how you do it, and it showed proper reverence. The actors were actually playing their characters for a change. And I said this over and over again. Patrick Stewart, the first 2 seasons, was not playing Jean-Luc Picard. He was playing a fictionalized version of himself, working through his own personal childhood demons. And it showed. Whereas from the first line of season 3, that's Jean-Luc Picard. That's the guy we learned, grew up and love. And Jonathan Frakes hadn't done any hardcore acting for years. He'd been directing all the time. The cameo in the first season really barely counted. No, he really got some hard, and this is probably the best acting he's done. God knows how long, possibly ever. Oh, okay. Kids just got home in one piece. Send her a thumbs up there. And let her know what I'm doing. Oh. Okay. And what do we got? Something showed up on Twitter. I'm not sure what. Yeah, some of these warnings again on the most tweeters don't like the time. No, screw it. I type what I typed, send it. Okay. All right, that's enough of that. But they nailed the character. Everyone was there. Even Data with the added emotions. There's still Data there. He's getting more, trying to emote more, because of integration of lore. But there's still Data in there. He's still this is Data, but just kind of Data plus, And I've seen a few complaints about Borg cubes. Borg cubes come in all sizes, okay? And this one was really freaking huge, okay? They gave that great one. If it's approaching, we see the one in Best of Both Worlds. That was a dinky little one compared to this one, okay? Because you saw them right next to each other. There's the Enterprise and there's the cube. Well, this one, it's like here's the Enterprise. Hey, gang here, and there's the cube. Okay. So while it's a little kitschy with Data flying the Enterprise D in there like some kind of little fight, it's not unreasonable. But yeah, this cube had been beaten crap. All the crap. Only 36% of it was operational, and that was mainly for transmitting. So it had big gaping holes in it already. Also, how quickly did Beverly take out the weaponry on that thing? It's not just the fact that she's suddenly good at ship's phasers. She's all there's also wasn't much there. Okay, and they're not up to regenerating to it. It's like when they had those 2 drones fighting Riker and Worf. Well, yeah, they're not adapting. They're not having shields at all. They're basically these are probably the last two intact drones in the entire bloody cube. The rest of them are being eaten up by the queen. But one of the there's one tweet about about hoping we learn the about divided families. Oh no, I think we can now reunite under the banner of Haiti and Kurtzman Trek again because that's what we got on the horizon with Academy and the Section 31 movie. Now, granted, we got other stuff in between them. We got Lower Decks, and I think Prodigy is in the offerings. And again, but those are like Strange New Worlds, fine, whatever. It's still the pale imitation. Oh, and Doomcock went, those are saying it's not woke. Look what happened in the end. A white man got to get him. And who's in charge of... It's 7 of 9. She damn well earned it, okay? We have followed this character all along when she, this was not an easy little, here, you're cute, be a captain. No, that would be woke, okay? This is a character we follow for long years. We know her story. We know what she's been through. Just in this particular storyline, we saw her go through a hell of a lot. She earned that command. Raffi has been pretty much redeemed, okay? Especially if you can just ignore the past 2 years, but been working her way back up to Starfleet intelligence. Apparently got accommodations out the wazoo. Again, this is not a Mary Sue character. Neither one of them that are just handed command. They earn those positions back, okay? Like people were calling for 7 should be a captain anyway, because that whole thing about but they wouldn't take her back because that last seat when they wouldn't take her back because she was ex-Borg. That was bull. Just on the person of Jean-Luc Picard himself, he was a freaking spokesperson for the entire Borg collective. And they came charging in, best of both worlds. No, this was handled very intelligently, very plausibly. Filled in a lot of plot holes and a lot of dangling plots out there. We even went back and explained how did Jean-Luc hear the Borg in first contact. Well, now you know. We managed to figure that one out. And we even got a Tasha Yar shout out when Data and Lore doing their little psychic battle. But this particular episode, it's like with the Enterprise D being dragged out, Terry Matalas is essentially undone generations. Kirk is in the freezer, ready to be thawed out and reborn, and the Enterprise D has got a proper end. It's in the Fleet Museum in a place of honor, and not a pile of wreckage on Viridian 3 when we last saw her on screen. So, yeah, don't think about this is high respect. Undoing one of the most embarrassing embarrassing times of the franchise. When they said let's just belly flop the thing on a planet. We're tired of dealing with that shit. Bull, come on. And what really I found was a little behind the scene when they boxed up the big 6-foot Enterprise D model. They were playing with the idea of just making it another Galaxy class, and it had the registry NCC 1701E. And that kind of put the light whole thing. We're just gonna get rid of it. No, well, apparently you weren't gonna get rid of it because what's this E doing on the hull? And whoever bought that model of Christie's probably still has that E on there. So don't even start the. Well, they weren't. Not entirely. They were holding on thought of maybe dragging again. So why crash it? That was my thing. The hypocritical creeps. But yeah, they basically undone generations because we've got Kirk kind of brought back to and waiting in the wings, and the Enterprise D is no longer a trash heap on some alien planet. In fact, I didn't think I was in an argument before. I thought they're that I knew they were going to remove it because Prime Directive can't have alien technology laying around, especially when you got an inhabited planet next one over, You can have them wandering in and say, look what they found here. No, they would have had to have cleaned it up. They, let them figure out why there's a 3 mile long, 50-mile trench in the ground. Just don't leave what caused the trench. Let them worry about the rest of it. They can blame it on a meteor. But no, the D is shown to, hey, Galaxy, the fat one can still kick some ass. Okay, and the final thing about people complaining about, they're renaming the Titan as the Enterprise G. It's a Star Trek show. We just saw the Enterprise D come out of mothballs and save the Federation again. You think they're not going to, roll it up and we get another Enterprise? The Enterprise F was, in the backstory, was slated for decommissioning. No, it was a little over the top, but I think it personally fit. It fit perfectly. Because I frankly, I wasn't too hot about the naming it the Titan A in the first place. What did the Titan do? But again, it's a Star Trek show. As in, these are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. That's what you're gonna get. Okay, you got to get a little cheese, with your pizza, which I have some over here. So yeah, it was a cheap one, but it's earned. Okay, but I'm also figured, when they set it up perfectly. Okay. All right. Now that. But yeah, as a proper backdoor pilot would do, they've set it up perfectly. Okay, here's your ship, here's your crew, and brought back Q and perfect because I'm like, how could it be he's dead? I figured to be something like, I thought you were dead. I changed my mind. He's a Q. He can do that sort of thing. But it's a little more appropriate. Though you humans think so linearly, you know. Hmm. No, actually, what ate most of the budget, I think, was recreating the Enterprise D bridge. That's what really sucked up a lot of the money there because they had to painstakingly recreate that bridge down to the carpeting that was going on the walls, and they were still gluing down the carpet when they were shooting the scenes. They were really cutting it kind of close there. But yeah, the only original part on that bridge was the plaque. Everything else had to be recreated from scratch, just about. Although the one thing is, the back monitors were all actual monitors. It wasn't just black backlit plexiglass. Some of them were, like on the horseshoe that was still there. Thank John Van Sitters. He decreed. No, we are not trashing this set. It's in storage. You never know. You might need an Enterprise, a Galaxy class bridge for sometime. So yeah, they went through the trouble of putting that back together. They're saved that bridge. Which is, okay, remember, because the original bridge, just they trashed it for real in filming Generations because we're not using this again. Just that's probably one of the factors when someone tried to float the idea of using the 6 foot model of the Enterprise again for that's what they make this eat no because we destroyed the bridge. Oh, I'm sure it was probably needing an upgrade anyway. Besides repair, but it's like a year later, so I'm sure they've upgraded a lot of stuff on that ship. Well, yeah, no, they did save it. And then the Arthur and Bill Black gave a shout to John Van Sitters, who was kind of the manager of the entire franchise type of thing. They saved the Enterprise D set bridge. They saved that set. What they're gonna do with it, God only knows, but at least it's stored somewhere. And again, especially because the only original part they had left on that thing was the plaque. Well, again, it's not a frontline ship. It's not a big ship. It's a survey vessel, really. Yeah. It had some they can defend itself, right? But it's not a it's not a sovereign class. It's not a gal. But I think also this might be a good move, like because I think there was actually a bit of a mistake when they declared the Enterprise is going to be the flagship. The Enterprise wasn't the flagship back in the old days. It was one of the fleet. And I think it's also a misunderstanding the term flagship, because flagship just means there's a admiral on board and using it as his command ship and commanding several ships, and that ship is where he puts his flag. You know, like during World War II, the aircraft carrier Enterprise was Admiral Halsey's flagship, where he would command the entire battle group. But I think it is good. It's just instead of the flagship of the Federation Starfleet. No, it's just one of the fleet. It's just another one of the ships. That one's going to be a bit of a mystery, but apparently Worf had something to do with it because the Geordie's line, well, we obviously can't use the Enterprise E, and they all looked at Worf. That was not my fault. Something happened. Apparently, the Worf was captain of the E, so and something went horribly wrong. But the F was slated for decommissioning after Frontier Day. It was its last hurrah. Now, whether or not Admiral uh, Shelby was in permanent command, or that was just like, you want to take this ship out in the part of the parade, which was entirely possible. Like I said, it was just the last rollout before they decommissioned her and started working on plans for whatever the G was going to be. But I don't need to have everything spelled out of what happened. Okay, that's not. That's just the point. Something bad happened to the E, which is what enterprises tend to get run rather rough. That's why these ships are designed to last possibly up to 100 years, and they're usually trashed after about 20 or 30. No, I don't think a ship that big, I'm pretty sure, did not get destroyed even during that big. Because one thing, the fleet was firing most of the shots. The Starbase was, the space dock was basically holding its own for a while there. But I don't think the Enterprise F was destroyed. I don't think. Aside from the Excelsior, I don't know if many ships were actually destroyed. A lot of them got damaged, probably, and that no, and one it probably is destined for the Fleet Museum too, or some maybe not the Fleet Museum, but somewhere. Yeah, it's like it really because I'll tell when the first initial comments, well, I'm going to give them a proper send off. My reaction was the same as Rob Burnett. They had a proper send off. It's called These Are the Voyages. No, All Good Things. All good. Not these are Voyages. Horrible. Which, by the way, with the appearance of the NX refit, These Are the Voyages is effectively retconned out. Nope, didn't happen. Certainly not in the way they showed it, because that ship did not have. Well, if Picard did it all single-handedly, sure, but he wasn't alone. He had the rest of his senior staff helping him. So you don't honor the one guy, especially if he's still alive. That's a thing. If you're naming a ship after someone, it's really bad form to name someone who's still alive. It's usually a memorial type thing. You name it after they're gone or on the way out, because the USS Ronald Reagan. Ronald was still around, but he was on the downhill. and I don't know if he was still around when they finally launched that ship. Titan became Enterprise because it's a Star Trek show. The wrap up of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Well, they're setting it. It's set up. That's the thing. Then they're just going to wrap it completely, because the whole idea, like Star Trek Legacy. Well, yeah, because you give Delancey something to do. Yeah, he'll be there for it. He is an actor. He loves to act, and he loves that character. And I kind of wonder, it's like, I would like to at some convention. Did season 2 of Picard, did that work out really the way you thought it was going to? Because like once you're in it, you're kind of committed. But they shot that scene with Jack and Q, and really when they were still wrapping up season 2, while he was still available, and so they shot that real quick. That was one of the first scenes they shot. Yeah, I think I think the name Star Trek Legacy came from somebody else. But yeah, Matas be an idiot not to leave a dangling thing of, hey, okay, we can get going here. We've got a ship, we've got a crew, we got some real damn good characters. Most of them lived. I wish they hadn't killed off the Vulcan. Tavin was like, oh man. Picard season 2 was a budget saving thing for the most part, though. The first few and the first episode and the last episode were Metalis in charge, and that's why you have some actual variants and ship designs and interiors that look like they actually came from a Star Trek show. Yeah. But yeah, they find that, and then people saying those are the best episodes. Well, guess what? Those are the ones Terry did. The stuff in between that everyone hated, that's on Kurtzman and Goldman and all the other morons, where everyone's acting like idiots. And oh god, I didn't even bother with season 2, which is probably how I was able to accept season 3. So I didn't have as much baggage to offload and forget about. I going through season 1 was like the Bataan Death March. So I got through that. That's it. And when I started seeing the season 2, no, not happening. Let's kill that one off, and the wife wants your pizza. No, they got an Enterprise G. It's the old Titan. It's not the first time a ship's been rechristened as an Enterprise. Because the Enterprise A was originally the Yorktown. So let me throw up a video here while I take care of wife. I think that did finish, because I think that cube was the end of the Borg, because it showed just how much of a butt whooping Endgame resulted in when Voyager, when they chopped off that the transwarp network and gotten virus on there. That was what was left of the Borg Queen, and she wasn't doing well. But anyway, let me get that over here, and let me throw up a video here. Let's see what we got in the archives. Tell you what, I'm going to throw up here my fan film retrospective. Pretty sure this is the newer one. I might need an update. Hold on. All right, and here we go. Be back in a bit. A fan film is exactly what the name implies. A film made by fans of a particular subject. In the case of Star Trek, these amateur productions have been around almost as long as Star Trek itself, with the earliest publicly available example dating back to 1967. Titled simply Star Trek, it's about what you'd expect of the genre. Kids utilizing the family Super 8 camera, makeshift uniforms that consist of hand-drawn insignia taped on t-shirts, living room doubling as the bridge, etc. The first noteworthy attempt to kick things up a notch came in 1974 with John Constantino's Paragon's Paragon, essentially an adaptation of James Blish's Star Trek novel Spock Must Die. The film ran about an hour, shot on 16mm film, featured a full-size recreation of the bridge set, more or less, and presented an ambitious variety of special effects on a budget of around $2,000, roughly $10,000 in today's dollars. Something to keep in mind is that through much of the history of fan films, Paramount gladly turned a blind eye to such activities, not just fan films, but bootleg ship models, costumes, fanzines, so on. So long as they didn't make any appreciable amount of money off of their intellectual property, i.e., not enough where it was worth it for Paramount to unleash the lawyers and shut it down. The next major attempt at a semi-pro level fan film came in 1985 with Yorktown, A Time to Heal, with the key selling points being George Takei appearing as Sulu, and James Shigeta as Admiral Nagura, the admiral who gave Kirk back command of the Enterprise in Star Trek Motion Picture. This project even got a write-up in Starlog magazine at the time. Unfortunately, the production was abandoned before completion and lay dormant for nearly 20 years, when work was resumed in 2010. Presumably, work is either finished or nearing completion, which only leaves the question of when it's finally going to be released, an issue common with fan films in general, especially with the more ambitious productions, as we'll soon see. December of 2002 saw the debut of Starship Exeter, featuring the adventures of a decontaminated and recrewed USS Exeter, last seen in the infamous original series episode The Omega Glory, under the command of Captain John Quincy Garavik, presumably related to Ensign Garavik on the Enterprise and the late Captain Garavik of the Farragut, both referenced in the original series episode Obsession. We meet a fairly diverse and interesting group of characters, and the first fan film production to present us with accurate recreations of the original sets. Uniforms and hand props are one thing, but building full-size sets is a whole nother level of commitment. Even most productions nowadays tend to go for the cheaper option of green screens. The debut episode, The Savage Empire, showed great promise, claymation monster notwithstanding, and a fan base started forming. Unfortunately, the second episode, The Tressarian Intersection, ran into a common enemy of most fan films, real life. Released one act at a time, the delay between the release of Acts 3 and 4 spanned more than a few years. In all, from principal photography to the release of the final act, it took nearly 10 years for the second episode to finally see the light of day. Needless to say, the third episode, The Atlantis Invaders, never happened. By the way, that bridge set now lives in Arkansas with a crew of Starship Ajax, another aspiring fan film group. The series took the approach many fan films take in depicting other ships and officers in the Star Trek universe away from the Enterprise, allowing the writers and actors to follow their own paths and not run afoul of the established canon. After all, it takes some serious balls to actually take on the roles of Kirk, Spock, and the rest, right? Well, in 2004, James Cawley decided to grab onto the third rail of fan films and produce Star Trek New Voyages, with Cawley himself taking on the role of Captain Kirk. A former underling of Star Trek costume designer William Ware Tice, Cawley has made his money primarily as one of the world's most acclaimed Elvis impersonators, hence the jet black king of rock and roll pompadour. I like to think of this as an alternate timeline where Hawaii Five-0 didn't take off, Jack Lord had a slight change of heart regarding Star Trek, Shatner left after the third season, and Kirk is recast Darren Stevens style, with Jack Lord donning the velour tunic for considerably less than the 50% ownership that he wanted the first time around. Just like any such production, first offerings are a little rough, with slightly dodgy camera work and frankly amateurish lighting. Thankfully, these issues were quickly resolved with subsequent episodes, although the second episode, In Harm's Way, became a touchdown for how not to depict the Enterprise. Whenever you hear somebody talking about the Enterprise zipping around like a colonial viper, this is what they're talking about. In 2008, the production changed its name to Star Trek Phase 2, a clear nod to the planned Star Trek revival TV series that was shelved in favor of Star Trek The Motion Picture, itself an adaptation of what would have been the pilot for Phase 2. This wasn't just clever rebranding. The intent was to produce some of those unproduced Phase 2 scripts. This only got as far as The Child, which had already been adapted by the Next Generation to get around the writer's strike at the time, and Katoomba, a John Meredith Lucas story about the Klingons that required some serious reworking to bring it back in line with the Klingon society as we knew it as of the time of Enterprise. It was while developing a Norman Spinrad script, He Walked Among Us, a script initially pitched to the original series, that the friendly folks at CBS chimed in to remind Cawley that they still owned those scripts and really would rather prefer nobody else produce them. This was around the time of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, and CBS had developed a serious case of territoriality, putting the kibosh on that idea. This also marked the end of Cawley's turn as Captain Kirk, as he pulled back a bit to focus on producing the show, bringing in actor Brian Gross to take over the role of Kirk for the last of the production's 10 episodes. Although Starship Exeter initially kicked off the current state of fan films with faithful recreations of sets and higher quality visual effects, most folks do look to New Voyages as when Star Trek fan films kicked into high gear. Partially because Cawley did grab that third rail by taking on the role of Kirk, garnering a lot of attention, both pro and con, and the fact that this production had the active participation of actual Star Trek veterans, both in front of and behind the camera, most notably George Takei, Grace Lee Whitney, and Walter Koenig reprising those roles of Sulu, Rand, and Chekhov, but also scripts from Dorothy Fontana, Mark Zickery, and David Gerrold, who finally got to produce a version of his next-gen rejected AIDS allegory script, Blood and Fire. Gerrold would later take on showrunning duties on Phase 2 until they shut down in 2016. More on that later. It was during this period that more fan groups were inspired to build their own sets or arranged to borrow sets from other groups, and Star Trek fan films entered something of a golden age. Which brings us to the culmination of this cultural and creative process. Star Trek Continues. Produced by anime voice actor Vic Mignogna, with a cast of primarily experienced professional actors, as opposed to the usual group of enthusiastic amateurs, and their own batch of faithful recreations of the original sets, starting with the bridge and other set pieces acquired from Starship Farragut, another fan film production that, through bad luck, lost the loan of the warehouse that served as their soundstage, eventually including main engineering. The only other production to have an engineering set was Phase 2, and they never got to really use those on camera. Star Trek Continues set itself the goal of completing the 5-year mission and setting up the characters for where we find them in Star Trek the Motion Picture. And over the course of 11 full-length episodes, they accomplished that goal. What set Continues apart from other productions are a few factors. Every episode is made with a concerted effort to match up as closely as possible to the look and feel of the original series, from the signature-colored lighting, the camera angles, and in this age of high-def widescreen, shooting in the original 4:3 screen ratio. The scripts were all consistent with those of the original series, including the subtle approach to current social issues, building upon established canon, and giving Mignogna that chance to chew up the scenery with true Shatnerian gusto. The vast majority of the cast of any episode are professional actors, with several guest stars well known to genre fans throughout the run, including Aaron Gray, John Delancey, Lou Ferrigno, and Colin Baker. Then on June 11, 2014, the fan film community started to turn upside down. Famous fan Alec Peters, previously known for dealing in rare Star Trek collectibles through his company Propworks, released a 20-minute documentary-style short, Prelude to Axanar. The intention was to set up the eventual production of a feature-length professional Star Trek story, Star Trek Axanar, which would tell the story of Garth of Izar and his role in the 4 Years' War, an incident prior to the original series, largely rooted more in fan speculation than hard canon, wherein the Klingon Empire and the Federation go to war, and we'd learn how and why Garth became the legendary starship captain that became a boyhood hero to James Kirk. Everyone in the cast, with the exception of Peters, was a well-known Star Trek or genre veteran. Peters, of course, cast himself as Garth. The visual effects were nothing short of spectacular, and the list of premiums for different levels of contributions was staggering. Donations reached over $2 million, and plans were announced to use the production of Axanar as the basis for an independent, for-profit studio where fans would be able to come in, produce their own projects in a professional-level facility. In the eyes of CBS, the current owners of Star Trek, that line where fan creators were not allowed to make any money from any of their projects was about to be crossed, and the lawyers were dispatched from on high, and the entire fan film community was about to pay the price for Axanar's ambitions. So it was on December 29, 2015, CBS and Paramount Pictures filed a copyright lawsuit seeking damages in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California, stating Axanar Works infringed their rights by making use of the Klingon language and innumerable copyrighted elements of Star Trek, including its settings, characters, species, and themes. The sword of Damocles that had hung over fan projects for decades had fallen, and Alec Peters, who likes to describe himself as a lawyer, even though he's never actually practiced law anywhere, seemed to revel in the attention and the conflict, while the entire fan film community very nearly ceased to exist in the carnage. In the middle of all this, mainly as a response to one of Peter's defenses that there weren't any guidelines to follow, so he couldn't be found guilty of violating the rules that hadn't been laid down in the first place, on June 23, 2016, Paramount and CBS released guidelines for fan films to head off any future mishaps and misunderstandings. The days of the property owners turning a blind eye to fan activities had come to an end. Groups that had projects already in active production were allowed to finish up as planned, allowing, for example, Star Trek Continues to complete their final batch of episodes. Phase 2, on the other hand, decided to just shut down production entirely, turning their soundstage into an officially licensed tourist attraction. Star Trek Horizon had just released a feature-length film set during the period of Star Trek Enterprise, and were planning a sequel when they received a friendly advisory from CBS not to do that, so they just abandoned the project entirely. Everyone else pretty much sat back and started rethinking their projects. The outcome came on January 20th, 2017, when all parties agreed to a settlement wherein Alec Peters and Axanar Productions promised to make substantial changes to Axanar and agreeing to abide by the newly minted guidelines for fan films, meaning that instead of the planned 90-minute feature, Axanar could be no longer than 30 minutes in two 15-minute segments, with no ads. As of the time of this video, Axanar has yet to begin production. And now let's take a look at those guidelines. These are not so much hard and fast rules as in these are the boundaries wherein you will not be sued. Stray outside the boundaries doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get sued, but it means you're taking your chances. So say bye-bye to continuing the series. I think this might be a gentle swipe at Star Trek Continues, because there was something, they did use the word official a few things, but I think it's more like they were referring to this is the official site for the production, not that they're official in CBS's eyes, but just to head it off. For anyone claims that, yes, this is canon. No, it's not. I think this is referring to any ideas about doing a mashup. Say, let's say the popular Star Trek Doctor Who crossover. And also, and you can't use stock footage. Recreating scenes is pretty much out, which would also nix, a vignette and an opening scene for a couple of Star Trek Continuous episodes. But pretty much, it's got to be original, and it's got to be legal. So, all right, this has been misinterpreted a few times, saying that you can't make you can make your own uniforms. The thing is commercially available. So basically, yeah, you want to start your uniform, you're better off. You better buy the Novos ones or some other, or maybe a Rubies even, but something officially licensed. If it's not available, then yeah, you can make your own. Like, if you want a phaser, you're better off using the artisan ones or the Diamond Select ones. But phaser rifles are kind of hard to come by, so yeah, you can make your own in that case. But they also don't want to be feeding the pirate market because, yeah, try proving that one. Basically, no more original series actors or I'm not sure this is entirely legal though, because I don't think they really have the authority to tell actors on their spare time what they can and cannot do. Okay? So if Gary Graham wants to show up as Soval in an episode, hey, what are you gonna do? So I would change that if I had what to say about it. Basically, yeah, you can spend more, but it's coming out of your own pocket. You can't do a Kickstarter and get more than $50,000. Although, frankly, a lot of productions are done for a lot less than $50,000, so that's pretty generous. Limit if you think about it. In other words, on YouTube or BitChute or something, and no monetizing it, so no ads. But yeah, you can't sell DVDs. No ads, no posting ads somewhere, no little bit, Basically, this is a direct swipe, but what Axonar was doing with models of the Aries, Axonar coffee, and other things like that. So, no, you can't, for a $5,000 donation, you can have the uniform of Captain What's-His-Face. Basically, that territory is reserved for Star Trek Discovery, because all of it's there in the first season. That seems fair enough. Yeah, any ideas you have about doing a copper on this? No. Those days are long gone, and they were kind of dodgy back then, frankly. Basically, proceed at your own risk. And don't be surprised if one day they decide to pull the plug on it and everything comes coming to crash now. Remember, this is also production of the Moonves era, so yeah, they got the little putting another sword up, ready to fall if somebody crosses the line. So that's the general status right now and a few of my thoughts. So comments down below, and also links down below if you want to support the channel, PayPal, Patreon, etc., and we'll talk at you later. Okay, I think we got that there. So, so I need to update that one again to include Samuel Calkins and his fan films, because he's been doing some damn good stuff lately. And I need to find some nail clippers. But yeah, things are in the fan film front, they're starting to turn around a bit. Because again, the technology only goes forward. So the effects, just like, okay, we're going back to the Borg Queen. Well, again, she apparently, previously has been able to shunt her essence off from body to body. Exactly. Yeah. But this was apparently end of the road. This is where you get the title comes in, The Last Generation. Some of the last generation of Borg. Because what Janeway did to her in Endgame, it's like, no, they're cut off from the collective. Apparently the collective itself was falling apart, like the cube was it. And as they find, is only 36% working. And all of that was geared towards sending the signal out. Very little bit was, remember, Beverly took out the defenses pretty easily. You had big gaping holes big enough to fly a Galaxy-class starship through. So that, that that cube had been through hell, okay? Oh, bro, okay. So, and I did something similar in my Strange New World submission when I had the Enterprise under April running up against the Borg cube. They just had their butts kicked by an ion storm. That's the only way really you can realistically have one ship go up against the cube and come out even close to unscathed. It's just got to be about ready to fall over anyway. So if that cube had been fully operational and fully stocked with drones, they wouldn't have stood a chance. But pretty much, or it's the same essence of the Borg Queen that finally got killed. Because previously you figured there was probably a backup, back like when they went back to interfere first contact, there's probably a backup waiting to go online in case, okay, if we don't hear a signal back within, at such time, activate the backup, and that's how they're able to meet the Borg Queen and Voyager. But now it's like, nope. And something they should have focused more on in Voyager was what kind of goobly crap did they just put the Borg collective in. in doing that thing of getting that virus into the queen and therefore into the rest of the collective, and also in collapsing the transwarp conduit network. I don't know what Hugh did. I'm not sure I want to know what Hugh did. But yeah, it was pretty clear with the with the communications between the board and Vatic and the board queen. It's like she was not doing well. Okay, if that's how her face comes, it's like, I mean, it was pretty effective in hiding who the hell she was for the sake of the suspense of the audience. But we finally got to see her in actual time. Someone then mentioned the name of the actual actress who did the mocap. But yeah, they did do. It was Alice Krieg doing the voice, or Kriega. But all right. Well, the thing is, it's like in Borg Queen Fact. Did I coax up? Nope, I'm out. Yeah. In the Borg Queen is the Borg. The collective. Then I mean, there's. Yeah, and sometimes this couldn't have been intentional. That the basically you had all the young people suckered in by a bizarre form of social media and TikTok getting in their brains and going nuts. And it's the old folks that got to come to the rescue. Does that sound woke to you? It doesn't to me, okay? And that's another aspect for Doomcock and Frankly Suck It, okay? Because he, thing about, Raffi and Seven getting in turn, they killed off the white guys. Okay. It's not like Shaw went down like a punk, okay? That was a hero's death, okay? Yeah. I mean, you could even drag it out a bit, and it's like it'd be a stretch in this case. I'm positive they did not intend this, but you got to that suddenly they identify as Borg, and you have to no, you are not Borg. That is a. Lately I have gotten really hardcore on this thing. I'm like, no, trans, gender ideology is evil. It is destroying our children, eating them up like and it needs to be stopped because that's another rant. I'll get on that later. I'll probably have to. Well, also the tech, the transporter is the one that has to undo it all. The trans thing, I'm not to put that to rumble because apparently if I breathe anything more than what I said here, YouTube will just pull the plug on the whole damn thing and no one's gonna. But I'll probably just do that and I'll probably just upload straight to Rumble on that one, so I can really rant. Oh yeah, it is. And even certain trans, high big up, like there's a doctor, and then it was in the Bill Maher video from a year ago, which I keep reposting. Saying it has gone too far. Okay. Mm-hmm. Nothing. The reason the Bill Maher video is still because it's Bill Maher. So, but there's also a reason why he is now considered a hero on Fox News. It's like, in his own words, he is still the childless, pot smoking libertine he's always been. It's the left has gone completely off the cliff. When you can't, when you find a side that agrees that shoplifting is wrong, and you find yourself lining yourself with Ted Cruz and the Republic, it's like, yeah, and you guys can't even agree. It's wrong to steal the Walgreens down the street into oblivion. It's like, okay, you guys have lost it. Yeah. But yeah, they're getting off the weeds again. Stick to Star Trek. Don't get me going on this. I will go nuts. But yeah, apparently, they this really, it really, you really cannot seriously accuse us of being woke. because there's no woke thing about it. Oh yeah, they snuck the stuff in there, and that's the way you do it. And start you kind of sneak it in the form of the story. You don't lay it out there and beat them over the head with it. Even if the audience agrees with it, that's not the way you do a Star Trek story. Yeah. Woke. How do you define? It's not what it used to be. It's aware of it. Now it's like you have to agree to this ideology, or you're a bigot, a homophobe, a istophobe, you're a Nazi, or whatever. All spouted by people who wouldn't know a real Nazi if it came up and goose kicked him in the nuts. You know, but it seems like the big thing about is just it's gone to the point where it's just like whatever it's written, I'm against it. I'm just overthrow everything. Again, you don't want to get me off on the topic of like the radical trans community and what they're doing and yeah. Yeah, Matt Walsh did a real good video on the specifically to the trans thing about the calling about the look the trans me. You asked for this fight. You started it. Nobody cared about thing for the most part. And not the fact that apathy. It's just like nobody was concerned about you. Be trans, be trans. But the second you start trying to sucker us all into your demented worldview, that's when you got, and especially when you start, in any issue. That's what got Glenn Youngkin elected in Virginia. It's like they start messing with the kids. You do that, and a lot of people say, no, hold on. Back the hell up there, Sparky. And that was the thing, unintended consequence of the lockdowns and everyone remote learning. Now suddenly, mom and dad can see what they're teaching the kids in school. Because usually, what was happening? What'd you learn in school today? I don't know. What happened? I don't nothing. You don't learn. And then meanwhile, they're pumping them full of this crap. The Enterprise J is really just a possible future anyway. I don't know what year. It was just something Doug Drexler threw together for a visual. I mean, the ship is roughly the size of Manhattan. So. But it's debatable whether or not that timeline ever came to be in the first damn place. I don't know, the eraser just never happened because how crucial was the temporal Cold War to that whole thing? And that's the thing with the that's how you accept Enterprise and some of its weirdness is like after it's Stormfront Part 2, that's when the timeline realigned and the various things went by. So anything from the first few seasons that absolutely does not fit and cannot be reconciled, that went bye when Archer hit the big reset button, and everything went more or less went back to where it was. What little is left, you can finesse it. Okay. The original series has plenty of strangeness you got to work around. Like Kirk's backstory is a bit of a minefield. Well, not so much we rejected it was Roddenberry rejected it. It never got that far. I mean, it's kind of a nifty ship design, and Frank, if you look at it kind of squinty, you can figure that's where the Enterprise D came from. Eventually, Andrew Probert was working under Ralph McQuarrie for a while, and they probably saw the thing, and he was a fan too. So he's but there are elements of that McQuarrie design that you just make this primary hull bigger and beef up the secondary hull a bit, but it is very similar to the Enterprise D. Yeah, what they did with it And later on, after Brian Fuller was booted, that is where it became a sci-fi design and not the aircraft sensibility approach that Jeffries and others, those actors took up, make this look like it could be an actual functional ship. How the hell do you with that spinning? That makes no sense. And then when the whole thing's like, really, you know, Kurtzman doesn't, Kurtzman doesn't know what the hell he's doing. That's the thing, He is, and he's been started calling out as just an IP hack, especially with Clarice crashed and burned. Entertainment Weekly just called him out. He's a known IP hack. It shouldn't be a. I think a large part of the designs in Discovery was largely because nothing rounded. Rounding, rounded like round nacelles and stuff like that, round holes. That takes a lot of computing power. You keep it with sharp angles and ugly little things. Those are a lot easier and a lot cheaper to render in a computer. There's no physical models. It's all CGI. That's how you can do the stupid loop-de-loop things they make the ship do. They couldn't afford Chris Pine for a series. That's a big one right there. And again, nothing against Paul Wesley, but he does not come across as Kirk in what I've seen. That is not Shatner. It doesn't have the same kind of thing. It comes across as kind of swarmy. That's that's not Kirk. Plus, he's also 40. That's why Kirk should be in like his early 30s. Frankly, I would not mind Chris Pine at this point because he's making a lot of great comments, like dismay that they should be making Star Trek films for the fans. They don't need to be spending $100 million on this thing, and they really need to worry about satisfying the fans because we've been carrying the franchise this time. We need to cater to these guys, and more people come along. Great. They're trying to go for that Marvel audience, and no, there's not that many there. Shatner has said if there's a good story out there for it, and he's open to coming back, and that's where I think having Kirk on ice at Daystrom Station that would work because you could make him old. You better move on it because man is 92. And he ain't got that many. He's hale and hearty as all, but I don't know how many more years you got of that. Because sooner or later he's going to. Shut the fuck up, Kirk is Mexican. Don't give him any ideas. For God's sakes, no, we don't. We don't need Jane Kirk, okay? Although that being said, there was a real good fanfic story from way back. It was in Strange New Worlds 2, the collection, and basically almost the entire crew was gender swapped, except for Spock, who was kind of made ultra masculine, kind of extra chromosome type, which made things interesting. And they run into the Klingons, and Kang, well, he's fighting where Kirk decides to cop a field. Shatner's got a strange look. I think it'd be kind of hard to match that. I don't know. And again, we're dealing with producers that do not give a rat's ass for the most part about sticking to it. They're not sticking to established canon by any way, shape, or form. The uniform, they look like original series. They shouldn't look like original series. They need to look like they're in the pilot era. Remember, this whole thing takes place between the cage and where no man has gone before. The same uniform and the same damn ship. It was this thing, not the. Because I should drag out that other one. It's supposedly the same scale and it's twice the size. Once upon a time, I looked more like Shatner. You know, I wish the hell, I wish the hell I had that footage. The Channel Two was doing a report down at Starcon, Denver, at the Regency, and I was on leave from the Air Force, so I was in shape. My hair was cut short. I had the uniform, and like, yeah, and they hanging out with the girl there in her original series uniform. That could have been interesting. She flirted with me enough. That could have been fun, but didn't follow up on it because I wasn't going to be around much anyway. I was about to go off on my assignment, but yeah, the guy's yeah, he looks kind of shot. Hey, thanks. Yeah, Vic. He knows that he knows how to carry. He knows Shatner. He's very good friends with Shatner. One of the things that helped that is that he waited like 2 years before he even mentioned the word Star Trek. And he didn't found out about Star Trek Continues when his wife called it up. Hey, have you seen this? What Vic is doing? And they go, what the hell is this? And that's the point where it's like you can point out that yeah, Kirk was actually a bit of it because Vic was a child of divorce. He said this probably, and Kirk was his father figure for a lot of times. When it was like him and his mother, there was no man around the house, and Kirk was the father figure that he fought for a long time. Yeah, the one complaint I have about Strange New Worlds, as far as the character, most of these characters have no business being on that ship at this time. There's no reason to have those characters on that ship at that time. I mean, I got the impression when they brought in Doctor Mbenga in Private Little War, he hadn't been on board very long. The fact that McCoy had to, Doctor Mbenga, he's in the Vulcan ward. They needed a Vulcan ward with one Vulcan on board. But yeah, it's like and also Doctor Mbenga never had a beard, so I don't know what the hell. Nurse Chapel, same thing, and Uhura, and you're gonna tell me there within about 5 or 6 years of the events of Space Seed, you have a descendant of Khan Noonien Singh, who still carries the name Noonien Singh, which is apparently bullshit as far as the way this naming conventions go with males and females. But you have a character named Noonien, and it never kind of crops up when you find the botany beta. Hey, didn't we have a security officer on board? Hey, Spock, you served with her. Didn't you remember that term, Jan? Yeah. Yeah, it's just stupid. Those are member berries. That was saying about I just remember. No, that's a member berry. It's put in there for no reason. The Condra. Hey, remember that episode? Well, here she is here. And also the cat, Nurse Chapel. Remember her? Yeah, she's there. No, her, yeah. There's no reason for them to be there at all. And there's frankly, why Lieutenant Ortegas is such a popular character? Because she's the original character. They can do what they want with her. They're not hamstringed by any of this crap. Yeah, it's crap. Okay, and that's why I don't bother with that show. I'm not interested in a flashy alternate timeline that isn't even. And I think and if they're sticking with that short trick thing, yeah, it's still got the TARDIS like interior in the turbo shaft. Where you pop that hatch and it's like, with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Like, oh look, we got a starship flying by, and then the turbo list because there's not it's empty, infinite space inside there. Well, the member berry thing, that's from a South Park episode. That's where I think it's Kyle's dad or Stan's dad. One laying about the big member berry, and they're going, "Hey, remember Chewbacca? Oh, I love Chewbacca." It's a member berry if it's just thrown in there for a call out, has nothing to do with the plot at hand, or it's just a little thing to get you. Oh yeah, I remember that one, and then you move. Then very little of that went on with Picard. They get a reference in there. Yeah. Ah, you know, goddamn 350. Get your own damn money. But usually, like when Lower Decks makes a call out, they some of it, but some of it's also that it fits within the context of when it's being called out. It's the sort of thing, it's not just thrown out there. Hey, remember, that thing, and then move on with the story. It has nothing to do with what you just talked about. But that's where you got a lot of in Discovery and passing the card, where they'll just throw it out there. Yeah, well, need a diversion once in a while. But that is just stuff. It's just like I like when they did on Popcat. No, those are Roddenberries. Okay. Yeah, their references something else, but it's also stuff that's relevant to the story at hand. Oh, there is fan service now, but it's fan service we earned. Yeah. After all the abuse we put up with the past few years, no, we earned that fan wank. Okay. We earned all that foreplay and finishing up and the big old money shot of the Enterprise G. We earned that, damn it. Do not take it from us. And that's really, it should be, Well, there's something about that, But yeah, they were trying to write off this season with Picard. It's just member berries and fan service. It's fan service, yeah, because we fucking earned that fan service, okay? After all that, being ignored and I'll tell you what I want. I would not mind a continuation picking up with the Enterprise G and stuff. I would like it set in the canon timeline. Screw this Discovery timeline and just some kind of temporal what's it and just nope, that's it. We're in proper canon timeline now. No, I'm not saying it's stupid. I'm saying after all the abuse and taken for granted, no, I think we've earned some fan service. Okay, we need to be catered to after all this crap. Okay, yeah, and frankly, good is part of the fan is a good story, but also the fact you got these characters. These characters alone have been around together for over 30 years, and it's in the Star Trek universe, which has been around for almost 60 years. You're gonna get these references. You're gonna get crossover points here and there. It's not that it's not. It's a big universe, but it's not infinite. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's good regardless. But the fan service, I think, is like, hey, sir, we're being nicer. We've got it. Yeah. Strange New Worlds is gonna try, but they've already lost it because of that stupid ship. In fact, let's see if I could. Unfortunately, it's a bit of an obstacle course getting to the closet. But as I can see it on the shelf there, but there's a couple things on top of it, and if I could get it out without causing an avalanche. But the only way you would get Strange New Worlds to line up with the original series is what I like to refer to as a continuity bomb. You blow it up, and when the dust settles, they're all back in proper pilot uniforms with a proper ship, and nothing happened. It's like Pike calls in the sick bay, and it's Dr. Boyce. Okay. Yeah, Yeah, Strange in the World's popularity is strictly because it's not Discovery. It's still connected to Discovery, though. They made that quite clear in the beginning when they talked about he's still missing his sister. Well, that's it. You're done. It's bad enough you got that stupid ship and everyone in the stupid uniforms. Yeah, and none. No, like I said, you don't have the aircraft sensibility there. It's a sci-fi set that bears some passing resemblance to the original series. But again, they're aiming it at the wrong part of the timeline. Because again, I'll call back to Doug Drexler again. Star Trek is now a period piece. It's a future that never happened, but it's never going to happen. But certain eras have a look. Starfleet uniforms of that period did not look anything like. There were no red shirts. The colors of the uniforms in that pilot era was the avocado green for command, blue for science, and tan for services. And again, there's no military discipline on that ship at all. Pike's quarters are ridiculously. I mean, you house a family of 4 in there comfortably. Like, I am going to get that ship down. Hold on. Bear with me a bit. Let's see if I can get over there without killing myself. Let's see. Right away. Anyway. There we go. All right, come on. Damn it. Come on. All right. Yes, Dr. Peterson, I must clean my room. All right. All right. Okay. All righty, let's get some of the plates out of the way. But I'm not worry about that. Come on. Roll over. Here we go. Again, this is a very nifty design, but mainly because this was originally John Eve's proposal for the NX-01. And it was rejected because it looks too much like the original ship. But then when it tries to say, oh, it just refit it. These are both supposedly 1/1000 scale. How the hell are you going to explain a refit from this to this back to this? Can't happen. You try and explain that one, and I'm telling you, you're trying to sell me something. And this is going to be a pilot. I just got the spikes off the side because they won't stick in the domes, and I don't want to do glue just yet. But yeah, in my universe, this is not 1/1000 scale. It's more of a 650 scale. It's in same scale as the AMT Enterprise. This would be the class of ship just after the NX, but before it got there, because there's a lot of callbacks on that to the NX class. All right, now what did I miss when I was doing all that? Yeah, I know it's part of it. But it's also part of this crappy argument. Oh, that ship's not big enough. It's kind of like thing of humans think so linearly. 20th century humans think so 20th century. You know, it's like JJ and his scene of them building the Enterprise like they're building the Titanic. They would not be out there with welders and so. Well, in a way, it's like, once they wrecked it, it's just that no, they couldn't find anybody else to take the job. Nobody else wanted the damn thing. But Terry's like, yeah, I can do something with it. And thing is, they left him to his own devices. Goldman's off making Strange New Worlds. Uh, Kurtzman's doing God knows what. Nobody cared. Nobody said anything about when he was putting those little big middle fingers to the rest of the other Kurtzman. Like when the New Jersey comes on screen, original Constitution class ship, that pretty much negates this thing I just pulled out. And asked, how'd you get away with that? Nobody cares. He was able to get, there was just a few things he couldn't get rid of. He couldn't put Picard back in a human body and other things because he was stuck in that timeline. So certain events pretty much had to happen, but he minimized them as much as he could. Uh, hmm. Kurtzman is weird. Okay. But it's the same sort of thing as like when every interview JJ says, I wasn't really a Star Trek fan growing up. Then why are you directing this movie, asshole? Get out of the way. Let someone else in who is interested in Star Trek. Kurtzman, same thing. He didn't watch the show. His friends would be watching the show, and he'd see it when he went over their houses, but he didn't watch it himself. Same sort of thing. He's just too much for his little pea brain to handle. Well, he's doing shit like analyzing, RoboCop through a Marxist lens. What? I mean, yeah, there are there's things in there, taking swipes at capitalist society, but in the more like modern day society at the time, it's like I'll buy that for $1. They're just dumb. And Verhoeven is certainly no stranger to throwing stuff in like that because Battlefield Earth was a whole analyze about fascism and how it comes about and how people love it. But I think that's probably reaching a bit. I mean, there's other social commentary in there, but I don't think Marxism had anything to do with it. I think it would be interesting if they brought back Roberto Orsi without Kurtzman and see what he can produce without that that Kurtzman kid interfering and giving him bad ideas because he's still a little too in. I don't like his instincts on the thing because even he's a fan from way back, but it's like he's I don't like the way you're taking it, you know. And apparently the making Into Darkness essentially sort of a 9/11 truther allegory. No, I think that whole thing, frankly, is rather offensive. It's like it's a typical conspiracy thing where he's like, you cannot accept that something like that could have happened on its own. It's like, the JFK thing. It couldn't have been. No one could have killed our president that simply. Yeah, you could, because they were that stupid back then. They published the route in the Dallas paper, and he worked in the building. He knew exactly, overlooking Dealey Plaza. So he worked up there, and yeah, I could. And he was a Marine, sharp, marksman. And contrary to Oliver Stone, no, that actually was a very good rifle. And all the thing about duplicate, they did manage to duplicate the magic bullet, where they got us the same rifle. They managed to get ammunition from the same batch that Oswald had, dating back to the time. The weird metallurgical mix. There was something weird with a mix of the metal. Oh yeah, it was good. We're talking JFK at the moment. For some reason, I got off on that tangent, but they set up two ballistics gel dummies with ribs and other things in the exact, not where the thing, but yeah, because Kennedy was actually higher and to the side, and they did, and they marked a thing. This is where Kennedy got hit, and then this is where, and they duplicated that shot almost exactly. In fact, the bullet came out in better condition than the magic bullet. After that it did exactly the way it went through, the neck, and into through the car seat into Connolly's side, glanced off a rib. I mean, that's where things went a little weird because they're like very, but the bullet came out looking better than the actual magic bullet. Well, no, again, remember that this thing, that cube was really a cube in name. It had big gaping holes in it. It had the crap kicked out of it. So there wasn't they didn't have to blow a lot out of the way to to clear the way for a ship. And it was a big cube. Okay, the thing was the size of a small moon. Okay, and again, Data is flying the thing, and he's not taking orders. He's flying this on his own, and he's determined. He knows what he's following his gut, and he's flying it by the seat of his pants in there. So it's a little cheese ball, but it's like, nothing wrong with a little cheese once in a while. It's Data flying to the rescue. Let it go. And then, of course, Deanna redeems herself for belly flopping the Enterprise in the first place. I know where they are. She takes the helm, gets them in there. Yeah. And the same thing as renaming the Titan as the Enterprise G. Go with it. We're going with a happy ending here. Don't harsh my mellow, guy, okay? We're having fun for a change. Okay. Yeah, we pretty much defeated EMPs for us by now. Okay. We got certain are hardened against EMP. So by 24th, 25th century, you'd have to do something better than that. But there is also a certain amount of again, going for the acceptable cheese factor. Yes, there are other ships that could have gotten couldn't gotten Voyager or Defiant. Would have made more tactical sense. But you want to see that crew back on the bridge of the Enterprise D. And you want to see that ship come back in action one more time and redeem itself after generations. I mean, that's where you get back, Doomcock. The fat one there, no respect. Yeah, that's the point, Doom. They don't respect it. The characters don't respect it. And yes, you are supposed to be mad at the characters. This is not the producer's point of view. No, that was the Borg Queen. I don't know why they had that kind of communication set up. Maybe it was untraceable if they did it by way of a severed part of the changeling. Maybe they had a part of that code too, and that was how they're communicating. And the thing is, that way it would not be traceable through a regular communications sweep. It's more of a slightly technological telepathy. But and those freakies, it was a cool visual. Because there's certain element of stuff you gotta allow them a little bit of stuff because it looks cool. Yeah, and just distort the voice so you can't really tell who it is. Because I got a feeling the Borg Queen probably didn't trust the changelings as far as she could throw them. So yeah, keep them in the dark for the most part too. Although I think Vatic did seem to know more or less what was going on. You don't know, you know who you truly are, and the way she kept dancing around and never actually came out and said it. But yeah, ow. Okay, we've been at this hour and a half. I don't want to go much further than that because it kind of hurts the replayability. But this has been good. We finally got an audience on this thing. It gets a little boring when it's just me, monologuing. I like the back and forth. It would have been better if one of my invites showed up, but can't have everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and call up the closing thing here. And like I said, if you want to go with my trans rant, I'm probably gonna have to do that on Rumble so that I don't get censored because I got some things to say, and especially got directed at one individual who, I'll just say, it's Indigo White. I pretty good communication going with her for a while, but I will grant that I did kind of push the line a little bit in one and inquire. I was trying to get a second opinion on this thing, and I somehow it got back to her. But and yes, I'm gonna call. I don't. But I'm not playing the pronoun game with her. When the final it said that if she didn't live where she was and have the support around her, what I did could have gotten her killed. Okay, I want an explanation. What fever dream reality could what I do possibly get her killed? Because I posted a link on her public Twitter page connecting to her public YouTube channel. I did not dox her. Her name is out there. It's not so, and I was only asking a professional in the field opinion, and I like just general opinion. And she declined. Anyway, said I just got one response. Nope. I suspect it's like I ain't getting in the middle of this. That's your problem. And I will also say I've since reached out to another one in a expert in the whole trans ideology field. Thankfully, she had her DMs open, so I could do it directly and lay out all the details. Because as far as what I did this last one, it's just quick little thing. I just want to, professional opinion. DM me for details. Yeah, and this I didn't get anything. So. But this one, I think I am owed a bit of an explanation of how, in God's theory, could what I did endanger her life any more than it maybe already be from the usual round of stalkers, who would not be looking at what I did as any kind of inspiration for anything, because that does not make any sense whatsoever. But again, I'm not going to go because there's a lot of low hanging fruit I could go for slams right now, but I'm not going to do that because this is someone I do actually care about. I'm concerned about your future here. And she's fallen into this ideology, and I'm wanting to I've seen so far. Yeah, still anxiety. Okay, I think I had an effect. I'm hoping I planted enough seeds of doubt in there that she doesn't do something irreversible. But anyway, that's enough of that. I'm going to save that for the main video, and again, that's probably going to go on Rumble, so I don't get censored by YouTube because apparently they've been doing that lately. But we will end up link down below because we are in a bit of a crunch as far as rent goes. So, yeah, PayPal link down below. That's the best way. We are pursuing different avenues of trying to get some assistance through the county, and there's a possibility I could get a raise in the home health care thing. That's not going to be until September, though. If we can hang on long enough, it might be enough to make the difference. certainly make it easier on our situation here. But as it is right now, they are still working with us, but they need a little more to go on here. So yeah, anything we want to also get more people subscribed to this channel so it becomes a little more self-sustaining. So spread this far and wide, and I think that we will talk at you later.